See guys, so this nice and beautiful video is going to be all about information, okay? So what I want to provide you is speed reading. I want to teach you speed reading. I want to teach you how to effectively read information every single day of your life. And you have to understand that I want to teach you also how to be able to go and understand and comprehend what's said in the video and what's said on audio programs out there, and how to read from audiobooks and information out there, and how to get your resources much more effectively in the mindset of your life. So you must understand that when I read, for example, I base everything on information. Okay, so when someone says something like procrastination, I understand it's information. So when I understand that, for example, when someone says they have to do 4 categories of life, I understand that what they mean is that they have to do information. I mean, in a sense, so I base it on information. Okay, so for example, my dad over there is sitting down. I understand he's sitting down because that's information. Okay, I mean that television over there providing me what? I mean that television is providing me information. Okay, so all I'm looking to do while I read is understanding that while I read, I relate everything to information. So this whole video is based on information. Okay, but if I was to talk about the circles of life, I promise you that's information. I promise you if I was to talk about the metaphors and alliterations and similes out there, I promise you that's all information. Okay, so no matter what, if you want to understand how to read every single day and you want to abbreviate or you want to do something to relate information, you relate it based on information. Okay, you make sure that the word information is in your mindset while you read. Okay, so while I read, for example, I understand that there are a lot of things that I don't know, but once I relate it to information, I understand straight away. I understand what's talked about. I understand exactly, basing it on information, how I get my information across and how I actually involve myself with whatever is happening. So for example, this woman just recently blocked me. I understand that information right there. I understand that nice and beautiful information means that it's just information. I don't have to take it seriously. I don't have to take it in a nice and beautiful way. But the thing is that you have to understand that it's all information anyway. But the thing is that I have to always take things, and I never take things, I never take anything, but I make sure I receive everything in a beautiful fashion and in a beautiful way possible. So you must understand that if you want to be possible in life, you have to have information. You have to understand that when you're reading everything in life, you're always basing it on information. Okay, so what I mean is you have to understand that when I go and read something, okay, when I read something, I'm always understanding that whatever's going to be in that book. So for example, the title of the book is what? I promise you, the title of the book is information. Okay, so for example, you have billions of books out there with titles on it, but it's just information. Okay, so that's all you have to understand. So that's all speed reading right there, to understand that every single book, I promise you, every single book in the world and its title is information. Okay, and that's how you relate it to information. So for example, I have many books out there that you have to understand that have all information out there for you, and you must understand that when they talk about, like for example, scientists from universities, I mean, big deal. I mean, you must understand it's all information. They're talking about scientists who are information, who are from universities, which is information, and then they're talking about how they're cutting and dissecting rats to find what? I mean, to find information. I mean, in a sense, so the thing is that you must understand how to dissect. I mean, what is dissecting in life? Firstly, dissecting is information, okay? So, for example, when I'm reading, I'm always understanding that information is what's coming across to me. And I'm understanding that whatever they're going to say in life is going to be based on information, in terms of I'm going to define that which is said in life. I'm going to define it in a way that it's information for me, in terms of the word information. So no matter what is said, so when you're talking to me, I understand that you're providing me information. I mean, when you're around me, I understand you're providing me information. I mean, whatever's happening in life is information, so I just relate everything to information. So for example, synonyms and antonyms out there, I mean, every single word is information, okay? So if you don't know the meaning of something, just relate it to information. I mean, in a sense, so for example, good is information. I mean, goodwill is information. I mean, evil is information. And so is myself is information. My dad is information. My mum is information. I mean, dissecting is information. I mean, anything in life is information. So I'm always looking at the nice and beautiful word information, and I'm always relating what I hear in terms of life to what word? To information. In a sense, so no matter what is said, so maybe paragraphs have been said right now. I mean, let's say, do you know what a paragraph is? I promise you, a paragraph is information, okay? So let's say there are many paragraphs out there in terms of information. So there are many paragraphs out there that have been said already, and essays. And what's an essay? An essay is information. So for example, so now you're understanding how I understand how I read, okay? So for example, when I look at my laptop, I mean, what's in a laptop? I mean, information. I mean, what else can it be? I mean, when you understand everything in the car, I mean, what's everything in the car? I mean, everything in the car is what? Apparently, it's information. I mean, what's a mechanic? I mean, a mechanic is information. So no matter what, that this video is what? Apparently, it's information. So no matter what, every single day that when I relate to information, and when I actually understand information, I'm understanding what is information. Information is information, okay? So every single day you must understand that, for example, when I'm reading something, I'm looking to understand what they are talking about. So the only way that I can understand is to relate everything to information. And when I'm understanding they're talking about something, I mean, they're talking about something. I mean, what are they talking about? I mean, they're talking about information. I mean, that's how I understand. I mean, they're talking about information, okay? So you're going to find yourself in situations where people are giving you all these complex words. I mean, what are complex words? It's information. I mean, that's all it is. So that's how I understand how I read, okay? So for example, they're saying all these complex words, they're giving you metaphors, they're talking about scientists and metaphysics, and they're talking about present moment awareness. I mean, they're talking about business strategies and real estate. I mean, they're talking about business mindsets and communicational skills. I mean, what is that? I promise you, what is it? I mean, guess what? I don't know what it is, but I understand it's information. Okay, so the thing is that because I don't know, I understand I still relate it to information because I want to understand it, okay? So once I understand what they're talking about, I understand what they're talking about again. They're talking about information, okay? So now, approach the next block of words are going to come. I understand what block of words are coming. I promise you, it's information. I promise you, I'm relating it to information already. Before it said, I promise you, what are you doing for me right now? You're doing some type of information for me, okay? So you're doing something in regards to information. You're looking at me, which is information, yeah? I mean, you're maybe smiling at me. I mean, you may be laughing at me. I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing information, okay? And that's how I understand what you're doing. I mean, I understand that you're doing information. You're doing something around information right now. I mean, in a sense, so that's how I understand exactly what you're doing, okay? But I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know exactly what you're doing right now. But I understand it's information, okay? So that's how I read. I mean, that's how I understand every single book out there. So when I'm reading much more books, I understand that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know exactly every single word in the dictionary. I don't know exactly how to understand anything, but I understand that it is information, okay? I understand everything is information. So what have I said in this video? I've said information. I mean, so we're moving on to information, yeah? So once you understand when you're reading, in terms of you're reading much more and you're actually observing what's said in life, I mean, what are you going to relate the information to? I mean, you're going to relate it to information, okay? And that's how you're going to understand what's talked about. So what's talked about, guys? I mean, what's talked about in life? Information. So on the news channels, what are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about information, okay? I mean, what's your girlfriend or mother or father or siblings going to say to you? They're going to say some information to you, okay? So that's how you understand, okay? You understand that they're going to give you information, okay? So you're understanding that life is giving you information. So I'm teaching you the word information, okay? So for example, when I wrote 34,000 quotes. I mean, what did I write? I wrote information. I mean, that's all I wrote. So the more information you have, the more of what you have. Probably the more information you have, okay? So everything is related to information. So when I'm reading, for example, I'm always relating everything to information. I'm always understanding exactly what the Bible is. I mean, what is the Bible? I mean, it's information, okay? I mean, what's a DJ set over there? I mean, what's a DJing set? I mean, the DJing set is information. I mean, for example, when I'm watching a soccer game, I mean, what is it? I mean, it's information. I mean, it's information. So I'm labeling everything as information, okay? I'm labeling all the words. I'm labeling all of the sayings. I'm labeling every single metaphor out there. I'm labeling everything as information, as the word information, okay? So I'm always going back to information because information is the topic of this video. I mean, in a sense, so for example, when I'm actually talking about anything, you're relating it to information. So have the word information in your mind and relate it to information. So whatever I'm talking about in this video, just make sure that you're relating it to information, okay? And that way, that's how I read. I mean, that's how I read. I mean, I pick up my audiobook and I understand it's going to be information. I understand straight away it's going to be information. I understand when I'm reading music, I mean, what am I reading? I'm reading information. I mean, what am I reading in life overall? I'm reading information overall. I mean, do you understand how I understand? Because I'm relating it to information, okay? I'm relating every single word, every single paragraph, every single essay, I mean, every single complex word out there as information, okay? So what is a complex word? I mean, a complex word is information. I mean, that's how I understand. I mean, you may say complex word is the truth. I mean, that's different. So that's also something that's true. That's information. Okay. So for example, you can be relaying every single thing that you are imagining about to truth. So for example, every single book is truth. I mean, my dad's the truth over there. I mean, what's he doing? I mean, he's doing the truth. I mean, what's the DJ say? I mean, the DJ says the truth. I mean, I mean, you can relate to the truth. I mean, you understand? I mean, you can relate every single word to the truth. But I choose to do it via the information. I understand that everything that I relate to my life is information. So what is the truth? I mean, the truth is information, and the information is the truth, yeah? But the thing is that I just relate to the information. I go back to information, I read information, and I mean, are you somebody who has the word information in your mind right now? I mean, what is the video? I mean, you understand that word? I mean, what's that silent word in your mind? I mean, you understand? Because that's what everything is. And when you're reading, that's the silent word, yeah? So when you understand everything in that silent word of what I'm talking about, in that silent word, you understand what exactly is talked about. I mean, you understand? Because that silent word is right there. So what is it? I mean, go and say it. I mean, yes. So that word information is the silent word, okay? So what is the silent word again? I mean, it's information, okay? So the thing is that that silent word that I'm talking about is in the book. I mean, you understand? So what's going to happen is I keep the silent word in my head, which is information. So I keep the silent word in my head, and I'm reading, but I keep the silent word in my head. Information. And while I'm reading, that silent word is in my head. What is the silent word? I promise you understand that silent word, yeah? And that silent word is in my head, and I'm hearing like complex words. I'm hearing like essays. I'm hearing paragraphs. I'm hearing all these words. I'm hearing everything that they're talking about, like confidence. I mean, they're talking about metaphysics. I mean, they're talking about dissecting rats, and they're talking about business studies and all this, but I understand that silent word. So I relate everything to the silent word now. I relate, oh yeah, it's information. I understand, yeah, and that's how I read. I mean, yes, and so I keep that silent word in my mind. So you can keep the truth, in terms of the word truth, as your silent word. And you can keep the truth, so that the truth can be your silent word. I mean, yes, and so, for example, when they're relaying everything to dissecting and relaying everything to DJing and whatever it is, I mean, I understand it's the truth. Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah, I understand now. I understand. So you can use any kind of word. I mean, you can be the type of person who's using one word. I mean, use one word for this, and you can also understand how to relate words to that silent word. So what you do is, if you have the truth as your silent word, they understand the truth is also goodwill. I mean, the truth is also everything else. I mean, you must understand. So I'm also connecting that silent word to other words, for example. But what my silent word is, which word? I'm probably sure it's information. So I'm understanding when I'm relaying everything, when I'm reading something, I use the silent word, which is my word, which is information. I use the silent word, and I'm reading. Oh, I don't understand that, but I understand it's information. And then I'm reading much more, and I understand, oh, isn't it beautiful that they're talking about information? I mean, they're talking about information in that regard. I mean, yes, and so ha. I get the ha moment, because they're talking about empathy, but I understand empathy is information. I understand what you're talking about, and then they're talking about something about touching people over there. I understand touching people is information. Yeah. I understand what you're talking about, because I relate everything to the silent word. Okay, I relate everything in terms of everything that I've been reading in terms of life to what word? To information. So when I understand anything in life, I relate it to information, okay? And that way I read, okay? And that's how I read, okay? So every single time now, make sure you use that silent word, which is information, and use it as your primary guide to understanding I mean, yes, and to understanding and comprehending what's going to be talked about. So this is how I teach my kids, and this is how I teach everything in life. So what have I said in this video? I've just elaborated on information, okay? And that's it. I approach nothing else, and that's helping you to understand, okay? So you understand how I understand, and do you understand how to understand now? Because all you actually use is a silent word, which is information. But you can use any kind of silent word. I mean, you can use any kind of theory out there, which is information. I mean, you can understand, for example, any kind of word out there in a dictionary, you can use it in your mindset. But make sure you use a word that works for you. I mean, for me, it works as information because I understand what information is. I understand information is information. I understand truth is truth, for example. So that's how I understand, okay? So, for example, all I've said in this video is information. But has this information made you more aware? I promise you, yes, it's made you more aware to some extent. And what's made you more aware? I promise you, information. So that's how I understand, yeah? That's how I understand what's made you more aware, which is a silent word, which is information. So the thing is that if you read much more and then you relate everything to information, I mean, related to information. So when I say related to information, related to the silent word, yeah? Related to, so when they're talking about something, I mean, they have such, for example, they have such difficult ways of saying something. I mean, you have to understand when they're so difficult in their language, I understand that they're just talking about information. I mean, they're just talking about information, and that's how I understand what they're saying. I mean, no matter what, I mean, they may be relating something to different regards. I mean, they may be talking about something that I have no understanding of. I mean, you understand? But the thing is, I just understand they're talking about information. And that's how I read. I understand they're talking about information. Yeah, I understand what they're saying. I mean, whatever they're talking about is information. So I understand what they're talking about. I understand that they may be having a dialogue with each other. I mean, you may be reading a book that has a dialogue with each other. So maybe a interview with someone else. I understand they're all just talking about information. I mean, they're talking about different scenarios of information. I mean, you understand? So that's how I read. I mean, that's how I actually grow myself. So I hope that's helped you guys. I understand. I keep that silent word in my head. So I'm keeping that silent word in my head right now while I'm talking, and I'm relating all my words to information. And that's why I say the word information, because I relate it to information, yeah? So no matter what, I'm actually just growing myself. I'm understanding when I read, I have something to think about now, which is information. And no matter what, I just keep my silent word. And for example, every single book out there is going to teach you what? Boris is going to teach you information, yeah? But that's just the word that I'm saying right now. That's the word that means to me something, okay? But all words mean to me everything. I mean, yes, but I just choose to relate everything to information. So what's Jesus taught me in life? Of course, he's taught me information, yeah? Of course, he's taught me the truth. I mean, he's taught me confidence. I mean, he's taught me anything. I mean, you can relate everything to confidence if you want. I mean, you can keep the word confidence you can keep the word confidence to the silent word. I mean, your silent word can be confidence. I mean, your silent word can be empathy. I mean, your silent word can be anything under the blue stars of the dictionary. I mean, you understand? I mean, it can be anything, but my silent word is information. So when I relate everything to information, I understand what they're talking about. I understand exactly how they go about it. I understand how they go about what they're saying, because I understand I relate it to information, yeah? So, for example, you may be talking about the rhino went to have a shit. I understand that's information. So when I look at that, I mean, the rhino went to have a shit. I understand the rhino went to have some information, yeah? I mean, that rhino went to have some information, so I relate it to information. So it's a funny way of understanding what that is. I mean, you understand? I mean, or the rhino went to have some truth. I mean, the rhino went to have truth with itself. I mean, you understand? I mean, the rhino went to have some information with itself over there. I understand that information, yeah? I mean, that's a funny way of understanding. Or that monkey threw a banana at the woman, and that woman scowled at the man, and that man grew apart from the woman because that woman was hitting that guy, and because that guy was hitting that guy, this person was showing empathy toward this person, and this scientist came along to have a nice and beautiful way of life with that beautiful woman. And I mean, how do I relate this? I relate it to information. I understand that's information there. I mean, I understand that for information. They're just giving information to each other, yeah? That's all it is. I mean, I understand. So for example, do you understand how I understand that scenario? But it went complex, eh? I promise you that paragraph and that essay that I just talked about was very complex. I mean, how do you understand that? I mean, how do you understand whatever was said just then? I mean, I relate it to information. I mean, whatever I said was information just now. So everything that in all those scenarios, I mean, do you understand those scenarios that happen? I mean, I relate that to information. I understand that monkey threw a banana or threw information at the woman, and the woman scowled, which is information. So to scowl at somebody is to have information. So I relate it to information. To scowl is information. So I understand that woman has information. So that monkey threw a banana or threw information at the woman, which said information, okay, which gave information, okay, scowled, so you gave information, and then the man broke up with the woman. So because the man broke up with the woman, the man did some information with the woman to break up with the woman, okay? And that's how I understand. I understand what's talked about, okay? And because it's a funny way of understanding, okay? But I understand that I relate it to information, okay? And that silent word is there. So, for example, it's just information. I mean, what else can that be? I mean, yes, I mean, it could be the truth. I mean, it could be confidence. I mean, it could be whatever. I mean, but I relate every single book under the blue stars, under information. And then, for example, that's why I'm just saying different complex things, because sometimes you're going to read a book and it's going to be so complex for you to understand it, okay? So what I do is I break it apart. Okay? I break all the information apart, just like I done. Just like the banana, I mean, what's a banana? I mean, banana's information. I mean, what's a monkey? I mean, a monkey's information. I mean, you understand? I mean, the information threw itself at somebody else. I mean, look, I mean, banana threw itself, but the information, which is a banana and the monkey, which is information threw itself at other people or other information, and information happened. And that's how I understand it. I mean, it's a funny way of understanding, but it's how I understand exactly what's happening, okay? But I also don't understand. I don't understand, and that's why I have to keep reading, okay? I don't exactly know what happened. I don't know what happened about anything in life. I don't know anything in life, okay? I'm just a life coach, but I'm also nothing. I'm everything at the same time. But the thing is, I'm just giving you information. I'm relaying everything to information again, okay? So the thing is that information threw itself to information. The information scowled as information. And the man broke up, which is information, to break up with the woman, which is information. And that's it. I mean, how else do you understand? But I'm breaking it up. I'm looking at understanding that man broke up with the woman. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, that man broke up information, or broke up with information with the woman, okay? Because they made information together somehow. And because they made information together, that information went somewhere else. I mean, do you understand? I mean, that's how I understand. So it makes sense now. I mean, do you understand? So right now, when I relate something to information, it's a way of understanding, okay? So sometimes it's not going to be like that. I mean, sometimes people may say confidence. I understand it's information. I mean, what's confidence? I mean, confidence is information. I mean, you understand? I mean, that's all it is. So if you have confidence, what do you have? Of course, you have information, okay? I mean, do you understand? So I relate everything to information, and then I get the ha-ha. Okay, I get the ha-ha moment. Okay, so that's how I read. I keep the silent word in my mind while I read. Okay, and what silent word have I taught you in this video? Information. So what is that silent word for this whole video? Information. Broshis. Do you understand? Broshis. Now we're moving forward, yeah? We're moving forward with this video. You never have to watch it again because you understand it. Because what is the silent word? Broshis. Silent word is information. So we're moving on. Okay, and that's how you understand never to watch this video again, because you understand the information behind this video. Because what is it? It's information. So we're moving on, yeah? So the thing is, now you have to understand that when you're reading, I mean, what are you reading? Information. So what you do, you move on. I mean, you understand? I mean, move on from the subject. once you understand it, I mean, go and read it. I mean, go and read the information as much as possible. But once you understand the information, what happens? You move on. I mean, you move on from the information. So, for example, Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I mean, what is that? I'm probably sure that's information, okay? Probably should go to that information. I mean, do you understand? I mean, if you don't understand those names, probably should those information, that information that I told you, repeat the video. I mean, just repeat that block of time and understand those people, okay? Those people are information, and that's informational resources, okay? So information is something that you have to do, and you have to do that information, okay? So when I say you have to do that information, you have to go and read that information that they have. So Dr. Wayne Dyer is information, okay? That's Dr. Wayne Dyer. So when you write Dr. Wayne Dyer on the internet, you're going to find information about information, because Dr. Wayne Dyer is what? Apparently he's information, okay? So he gives you certain type of information. So you go to information, you go to the resource, which is information, okay? So what is everything that I've been saying in this video is just information, and that way you understand what I'm talking about, and we're moving on, okay? So understand exactly that you understand exactly what I've said in this video because of the silent word, which is, I mean, you understand? I mean, do I have to repeat myself? I mean, now we're moving on because everything is information, and now I understand straight away that when you look at my, I mean, what is all that? I mean, what's a silent word? I promise you, it's all information. I promise you, what's this face? I mean, what is this face? I mean, it's information. So you understand exactly how we're labeling everything to information, yeah? So when you're reading a book, for example, when you're reading a book, I mean, what are you reading? I mean, you're reading information. So the next words that come out, I mean, the next words that somebody's going to say is what? I promise you, it's information, yeah? So you're understanding straight away exactly what somebody's going to say now to you. I mean, my next words to you is what? It's a silent word, which is information. So now I'm giving you information again. So you must understand. So you understand exactly what you're reading in this video, okay? But many people will not teach you this. I mean, they will not teach you the silent word, okay? So they will not teach you the silent word, which is information. So you make sure you understand this is the one topic that nobody else teaches, and you must understand that I've taught you this. I promise you, this came from my resource. The silent word as information is my resource, okay? So make sure you understand that if you want to benefit your reading, make sure you understand to choose your own silent word. I mean, choose your own silent word, but I choose information. So when I read, experiment. I mean, experiment with information first, and then experiment with other words as well if you want to. But for my understanding, I relate everything to information, and I just move on. I mean, in a sense, so when I'm reading something from you or other people, I understand you're giving me information. I understand that whatever scenarios you're going to give me in terms of topics or any kind of descriptions out there, I promise you it's going to be information. I promise you, I understand it's going to be information. I understand that whatever is going to be in the imagination of my life is going to be information. So I'm understanding that whatever you're about to say is information. I'm understanding that everything comes from information. I mean, in a sense, so I'm relaying everything to information. And you have to understand that when I'm reading, I'm always understanding how to describe that it's just information. So I'm always relaying it to information. So they may be talking about other people, I mean they, in terms of they or those people, maybe talking about other people like famous people or whatever, or maybe talking about somebody's biography or talking about traveling somewhere like Paris or whatever. I understand they're just talking about information. I mean, is that simple to understand? I mean, they're just talking about information. So that's how I understand, okay? And that's how I get my understanding. That's how I get my reading up. I mean, that's how I get my reading skills up, okay? And that's how I get my information. I mean, do you understand? So that's how I've taught you to read in this video. I mean, what have I taught you? I've taught you information. I've taught you how to read. I've taught you confidence. I've taught you the ability to have truth in your life. I've taught you how to progress in life. I mean, you understand? But I've just taught you information. I mean, you understand? So the thing is, now I've made you more aware. I mean, what is more awareness? But more awareness is information. So everything that I've taught you is information, and every single book in the dictionary, in terms of every single word in the dictionary, is what? It's information. Every single word in that dictionary is related to information. So every single word, I mean, imagine how many words are in a dictionary, okay? So what are you going to relate it to? I mean, what are you going to relate those words to? The silent word, okay? It's information. I mean, in a sense, so that way, you understand every single word in the planet now. I mean, you understand every single word in the planet is information. I mean, in a sense, so now when you understand every single word in the planet, you understand that all there is information, yeah? So now we're going to read basing on information. I mean, no complex word out there is going to disrupt my reading. I mean, you understand? So when they say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I know it's information. I mean, wow. I mean, what is that word anyway? Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I mean, it's the longest word in the dictionary, okay? But it's information. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, let's move on. I've learned it already. I understand it's information. So get your kids to teach you, information. I mean, do you understand? I mean, some of you may be arrogant about that. I mean, so never be arrogant about information, because your kids are information. And they spread what? They spread information, okay? And be someone of a teacher of information, and be a student of information, okay? So make sure you understand that you teach your kids this. I mean, teach your kids to relate everything in information. But the best way to teach your kids, okay, about what I've taught you, is just send this video to them, okay? Send this video to them, okay? And that's it. I mean, it's so simple to teach your kids, okay? So sharing, I mean, they say, I mean, have you ever thought sharing? I mean, sharing a link to somebody else to teach that person something, okay? And now your kids have to be willing to read from me, and they have to be willing to understand. But if you just teach them one word, okay, information. I mean, teach your kids one word. I mean, teach yourself one word, the silent word, okay? Information. What is information, Dada? Information is information. I mean, so, Tata, is the toilet paper information? Yes. Oh, Tata, is the laptop information? Yes, it's information. I understand what that is. And that's how you teach your kids, yeah? So your kids can become very smart people if they just relate everything to information. You understand? So, Tata, what's in the dictionary? Information. I mean, what else can it be? I mean, you understand? I mean, what is that? I mean, what is the dictionary? I mean, it's information, yeah? I mean, what else can it be? I don't know what the dictionary is. I mean, is it information? I don't know if it's information. I don't know if it's information. How can you say that it's information? I don't know what it is, but I'm just relating it. I'm just labeling it as information. You understand? I'm just using the silent word. I'm just using that silent word to my advantage. I mean, do you understand? How do you understand understanding? I mean, how do you understand this life? I mean, you cannot understand why a little child gets killed. I mean, you can understand that it's information doing information. I mean, for example, when you see a little kid get killed by somebody, it's information doing information. That's all it is. I mean, that's good, yeah? I mean, that's good. Information doing information is good. I mean, when you have information doing information is good, yeah? Because I'm relating the guy that killed the little baby as information, and that baby as information. So information is just doing information. And that's how I understand that scenario. I mean, do you understand? I understand that scenario. Or you can call that the truth. I mean, you can say that's confidence. I mean, you can say whatever you want about that. I mean, you can relate any of the words. I mean, you can call it evil if you want. You understand? I mean, you can call it evil. You can call it good. I mean, you don't know what that is. I mean, you don't know what that is. You cannot describe that. You cannot describe anything in life. I mean, you understand? Because you don't know the meaning of anything. I mean, how do you know the meaning of things? Oh, because your doctor said something. Or because somebody else said that. No. How do you find out the truth? You don't know how. You can see it. I mean, what can you see? I mean, you see information. So I just regard it as information. I relate all those scenarios. I relate all the scenarios of the world that's ever happening today as information. So, for example, coronavirus. I mean, what is the coronavirus? I mean, it's information. I mean, what is the World War II? I mean, it's information. I mean, think about Hitler killing 3 million Serbian people. I mean, what does that mean to me? I mean, it just means information. I mean, what does that mean to you? I mean, maybe it's the truth. I mean, maybe it's evil. I mean, for me, it's just information. I mean, do you understand? I mean, if you were to kill me, I would regard you as information trying to kill information. I mean, as information trying to do information, and that's it. I mean, that's how I describe that. I mean, you understand? I just regard it as information. And I break it down. So information, doing information is just information. So 1 plus 1 equals 1. I mean, do you understand? So 1 plus 1, you have two ones into 1. Okay? So for example, that's how I understand how my problem solving is, and how my problem solving also reads. So what I've taught you is how to problem solve in this video. So what kind of problem solving skills have I taught you? I've taught you how to read. Okay? I've taught you the silent word. Okay? That silent word, I always use that silent word. Because whatever your reaction is, I understand it's information. I understand. I understand you may be happy. What are the 4 categories of information? Information. 4 into 1. 4 plus 1 equals 1. Okay? How do you make sense of that? You have to understand everything is 1. Okay? Everything in terms of all problem solving abilities, everything that's complex. You must understand everything that's 500,000 times 2356 times 2625556 times 3255. What does it equal? It equals 1. You understand? Equals 1. Or it equals information. You understand? It's just information. Think about it. If you're somebody who actually wants to think about that, 235 times 235 times 235 times 555. By the time you think of that number, you're going to go crazy. The thing is not to think as much. Never think so much in life. How are you going to remember that number? How are you going to do it in your head? Alright, do this number in your head and try to get the answer. 562 times 362 times 522 times 666 times 555 times 222. How are you going to do that in your head? So the point is, never think so much. Okay? Never think so much. Don't think and overthink. Okay? What you understand is that number is 1. Okay? Everything into 1. What is the times tables? Approximately just 1. Okay? So it can be 1 or it can be information. Okay? So what I regard the timetable as, so when I have the silent word in mind, is it's information. 555 times 222 times 333 times 225 5 6 7 8 9 10 is information. And that's it. I don't care anymore. Do you understand? Guess what? I promise you, when you don't care anymore, I promise you, you move on. You understand? And you learn. You keep learning. Okay? And that's the thing. You understand? So you have to understand, it's information. Whatever number it is, it's information, yeah? Do you understand? What? Does it have to do how smart do you want to be? You have to understand, you have to be really smart. You have to be really smart. You understand? But it's much better to get a calculator out and do it by calculator than doing it in your head. You understand? It's much better to write things down than it is to do it in your head. Okay, just remember that. So keep a writing journal down. So this is my writing journal. Okay, this video is my writing journal, and I just do it on video. Okay. So what have I done on video today? I've done 1 plus 1 equals 1. Okay. I've done information. I've done the silent word. I've done information in this video. You understand? So you have to understand to relate things to information. So what has Hitler done in the world? Or she's done information. Or what has any evil person done in the world? Or she's done information. Or they've done information. Or you have to understand, information is always going to be information. You understand? So when I'm reading something, I'm getting you to understand what I'm talking about. What am I talking about in this whole video? It's just information. We're moving on, yeah? Do you understand what I've been talking about in this video? Or what have I been talking about? What's the silent word? Or information. We're moving on. That's how fast you have to read, okay? So do you understand what your reading capacity can be in terms of speed? In terms of understanding? What's the silent word? Information. So what is this whole video about? The silent word, which is information. You understand? So we're moving on now. You understand? If you have to go back 10 times in this video to understand what I'm saying, then you're not relaying the word information to this video. You understand? Do you understand? Think about those people who have to go backwards in this video to understand this video. I mean, a little kid can understand this video. I mean, hey son, what have I been talking about in this video? Information. I mean, let's just move on, yeah? I mean, do I have to reminisce? I mean, do I have to go in the past? I mean, do you understand? I mean, when I read a book, I never go backwards. I never reread anything anymore. I used to reread Robert Kiyosaki's books 5 times. 5 times. Because he said something like this, like if you repeat it, someone said, if you repeat a book 5 times, it's going to be ingrained into you. I mean, that's bullshit, okay? And that's bullshit, okay? For sure, that's information. For sure, it's information, but that's not the information that I wanted to hear, okay? You don't have to read a book 5 times to understand it. You read it once, I mean, you read the Bible 1 time, okay? 1 time. You don't read it over and over again. You read it 1 time. You understand? But what if you don't understand that? Probably it's information. I mean, what else is there to understand? I mean, how about the scenarios that happen in the Bible? I mean, it's just information. You can read. You can read it. I mean, reread the Bible as much as you want. I mean, reread the Bible as much as you want, but you just read it 1 time. You don't read it 50,000 times when you understand it. I mean, imagine people who understand the Bible and they read it another 50,000 times. I mean, why would you read it 50,000 times when you understand it the first time? So you read it 1 time. You only read books 1 time, okay? So when there's a new book, for sure, when there's a new book that comes into play, how many times do you read it? You read it 1 time, okay? You understand? For sure, now Blinkist application provides you every single book under the blue stars, okay? Under the blue stars, alright? Under the blue stars, you understand? And that's repetitive behavior. That's just what? That's information, okay? So, listen. You have to understand that it provides you all the summaries of every single book, okay? It provides you information, okay? So, you must understand, that's how I understand. I document everything via what? Via information. So, technology is information. How do I get this message across to you? Information. I mean, you understand? So, I relate everything to information. I mean, what's my dad doing there? I mean, my dad's in the other living room, but he's in the other informational room. I mean, my dad's just information away. Okay? My dad's in that living room over there doing what? Of course, she's doing information. Of course, what's that girl doing that's so hot over there? I mean, she's so beautiful. Or that beautiful man over there. I mean, what are they doing? They're doing information. Nothing else. I mean, in a sense, so I understand what they're doing. So what am I doing? I'm doing information. I mean, do you understand? So we're moving on now. I mean, and that's how fast you have to read. Okay, so it may be a slow way to read, but it's really fast. Because it's much better than going backwards. I mean, it's much better than rereading this video 5 times. So if I didn't teach you this, then maybe in future videos where you understand in the future somewhere, where you be reading other books, maybe you have to go backwards 5 times to understand it, but if you relate it to information, then you just read it 1 time. Because what's it about? I'm pretty sure it's just about information. You move on with information. Pretty sure as soon as I get the information, and as soon as I understand its information, I move on. And that's how fast you read. I mean, that's a speed reading, okay? So when I'm reading something, I mean, when I read about information, I understand something. That it's information, okay? Because it can be anything else, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, as long as you understand it, okay? I mean, read in a way that you understand. So what's my subliminal word? What is another word for subliminal? Silence is another word for subliminal, or information. So what's my subliminal language? Information. Information is always the answer, okay? So don't get confused when I give you 2 answers, okay? Always come back to information. So my life over here, in terms of life, I'll be doing information for the next 70 years and more, and that's it. When you're watching images, what are you watching? I mean, what's an image? I'm pretty sure image is information. I mean, my image here is an information. It's information, yeah? And the more information you have, the more information you have, okay? And that's how you understand. I mean, you understand? So, what can help you in life? Information can. I mean, you understand? So, the more you watch Netflix, or the more you imagine, or the more you see images in life, the more information you have. And the more information you have, the more experiences you have, okay? And the better you are overall, okay? So, you must understand that it's going to benefit you in some way to read. But all you're reading is what? Information. And you need to read more, okay? You need to read more and more to have information. Okay, so when I'm reading a book, I relate it to information, and that's it. So why, how many times have I said information in this video? Because I want you to understand what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the silent word, which is information. And we're moving on now. I mean, we're not going backwards, okay? So I don't expect you to re-watch this video, because to master this video, you have to understand we have to move on, okay? And that's it. Apparently, we have to go the way of information, okay? So when I'm reading books, I understand they talk about different things. They talk about whatever that I don't understand. I mean, sometimes they're talking about things I don't understand. But when I relate it to information, I understand what you're talking about. I mean, do you understand? Because they're talking about information, so just move on. I relate it to information. I relate what they talk about to information. So I hope you get the gist of what I've been saying in this video. So if you want to develop yourself, or if you want to help yourself to understand much more about life, I promise you relate everything to information, because that's the most important goal, okay? It's making sure every single day that you understand that information is the way. I promise you information is the life. So you have to provide information to understand how to actually deal with your life on a daily basis. And you have to understand that all people are providing these days is information. So now you never again have to be confused about anything, okay? You never again have to be confused about information, because information is information, okay? And that way we move on. And that's my reading smarts. I mean, that's everything that I've learned in terms of reading. And they won't teach you this in school. I mean, they won't teach you this in business school. I mean, they won't teach you anywhere else other than Danny Milivojevic can teach you this, and that's it. You understand? I mean, this is true reading. So when I look at a page of books, I see information, and that's the fastest way to understand what that is. I mean, how do you read 1,000 words in 1 second? Information. I mean, it's information, and that's it. I mean, let's move on. I mean, you understand? But look at all those complex words. I mean, it's information. But how about the scenarios? I mean, it's information. So what's the point of reading it then? I promise you, now read it. I mean, who said you don't have to read it? I mean, you understand? You read it. You read the scenarios, because you have to read scenarios to understand the information. You understand? Oh, but Danny, but you say it's all information. Yes, but you still have to read. You still have to read more. So when you read sentence by sentence, you relate it to information again and again. I mean, in a sense, so when the sentence comes like, the dog barked at the woman. I mean, what does that mean to me? I'm trying to you. Information. Fuck. It just means information. I mean, you understand? I mean, how complex do you want to get about it? The dog barked at the woman. I mean, information gave information to the woman. I mean, information gave information. I mean, you understand? I mean, move on. That's how you... I mean, what is that? I mean, it's information. I mean, it's just information. So we move on. I mean, there's nothing so complex about that. I mean, when I read something, like, for example, the woman kissed the man, then went over there, done some complex things, loved people, seen the scenario over there, went over here, gave an idea, and loved the person over there. I understand all I'm relating that is to information, and I move on. I relate all that I just said to information. I mean, what did I say in this video? Just information. We're moving on, yeah? We're moving on to something better, because it's just related to information. So that's it. I mean, understand? I mean, that's how I read. And it's not a stupid way to read. I promise you, it's really smart. Because I understand exactly what's happening in that. Approach is just information. There's nothing complex. I mean, you understand? I mean, there's nothing so complex about that. But people like, oh, but how do you understand that? I promise you, it's really easy. I promise you, just understand it by understanding it. It's information, and you move on. You don't have to read it 5 times. You don't have to read it thousands of times. You just read it 1 time. I mean, the dog barked at the woman. How many times do you have to understand that? You want to understand it 1 time, yeah? The dog barked at the woman. 1 time, let's move on. It's information. You have to relate it to something. Relate it to something, yeah? So the dog barked at the woman. You have to relate it now to something. So I relate it to the silent word. It's information. That's how I read. I'll move on. The next sentence is, the guy threw ice cream at the woman. I'll relate it to something. I'll relate it, oh, that's information. I'll move on. I mean, Danny, what was the book talking about? It was talking about information. Wrong. I mean, if somebody calls me wrong, it's information. I mean, what did they talk about, man? Oh, that woman was with the dog. I mean, now, I never want to argue with that person. I never want to argue with that person because they're always going to call me wrong. I mean, you understand? I mean, people who call you wrong or right are people who are giving you information, okay? But the thing is, never call people wrong, okay? Because nobody's wrong and nobody's right either, okay? So you must understand, everybody's information. So the way they understand how to read is different to how I read. And now, how I read is how I've taught you in this video. I keep the silent word as information, is my silent word. I keep 1 word in my brain. Understand that now I'm going to start reading audiobooks, yeah? And what am I going to relate what they're talking about with? Information. I mean, politics, information, whatever subject it is. I'm just going to relate everything that's talked about into the word information. And then I get scenarios, I get images, I get imagination. I say it's information. You understand? I say it's all information. And I just move on. You understand? I don't want to read the same book 50 times. You understand? So you have to learn how to grow, okay? And the best way to learn how to grow is to relate everything to information. Okay? So that's the best way, okay? So you can relate everything to different words, okay? But for me, it's information, okay? So the best way I relate this video is to information. Okay, I relate it to information. I relate it to information. I said it. Understand? So this whole video that I've been talking and saying something, I've just been spreading out information. And that's how I understand what I've been saying. Because it's information to me. I mean, what does it mean to you? I mean, it can mean truth to you. I mean, it can be confidence. I mean, I can say this whole video is confidence. And that's true. I mean, I can say this whole video is truth. And it's true. I mean, I can say this whole video is evil. And it's true. I promise you, the yin-yang of life. I promise you, yeah. I promise you, it can be anything you want it to be. You understand? I mean, what you say goes. You understand? But the thing is that, for me, this video is information. And what do I want this video to be remembered about? My silent word, which is information. I don't call this video evil. I call it information. But you may call it evil. I mean, it may be evil for you. I mean, whatever it is for you, I mean, that's your interpretation of it. I mean, that's how you understand that. I mean, you understand? So your interpretation of this video is what? I mean, what's that silent word that you are talking about this video? Because you're relating what I'm been saying to that topic of your mind, of your silent word. I mean, my silent word, you understand my silent word for this video, which is information. Understand, I relate this video to information. What do you relate this video to? Is what I'm asking you. I mean, you understand? I mean, you can relate it to information and you can relate it to good. I mean, you can relate it to many things at the same time. It doesn't just have to be information, but the more you relate things, I mean, listen, if you start relating this video to information, then to good and goodwill and honest, it's too much to think about. It's too much to think about. So how can you have 4 words in your subliminal language? You must understand, it's information. The thing is that you have to understand something. It's better to keep one word as a silent note in your mind, okay, than it is to keep 4 words, okay? Because you can only remember 1 word at a time. You can never have 2 words in one mind, okay? You can only have 1 word at a time. But you can do anything, okay? You can do anything. But the thing is that in order for me to relate this to information, I can now relate it to something else as well. But it's much easier for me to relate this video to information and move on than it is to keep going about what this video can be as well. So this video can be honesty, and it can be thriving. I mean, it can be money making. I mean, it can be a lot of things. It can be a lot of things. I mean, it can mean a lot of things to me. But I just mean to say, and I also mean to say that this video to me is just information. And that's how simple I am about it. I don't start recollecting all of the words in the dictionary and start relating this to all the words in the dictionary. But it can also be that. I mean, you understand? So for myself, when I'm reading, I keep 1 word in silent. I keep my word information in silent, and I just read with information. I mean, I just read as information. Okay? And when I read, for example, something, I keep 1 word as my silent note or my silent word, which is information. And that's it. I mean, that's just how simple I am. I don't go further than that. I mean, do you understand? I don't go having 4 words as my silent note. I don't go having 4 words as my silent repertoire, okay? I go having 1 word as my silent repertoire, okay? So I just have silent word as my word information, and that's it. So what's my silent word? Information. And I just keep it at that. I don't go any further than that. I read at the speed of information, yeah? And that's it. I learn to understand to dissociate and to associate and to disable and enable myself through the word information. And that's how I read, okay? And that's how smart I am. And that's how I speed read. I speed read through 1 word. And what's the word? I mean, that's simple, yeah? And that's all this video is. This video is what word? It's information. In a sense, so that's how we're moving on. And no matter what, you can relate thousands of words to this video. I mean, you understand? But that's so much thinking. I mean, that's so much thinking. I mean, let's move on. I mean, you understand? I mean, do you understand? I can relate thousands and billions of words to this video. But how much do you want me to relate this video to? I just relate it to information and I move on. I mean, you understand? When I read something, I relate it to information, I'll move on. I don't have to relate thousands and billions of words to what's said in life. I just relate it to information. So I hope that you understand now. I understand what you're saying. So no matter what, that's how I read. And that's how I actually benefit from my reading. So before this, I said to Jesus Christ, this video is for you. And I hope God is listening to this. Of course He is. And now is God a he or she? I promise you, God is information to me. I mean, in a sense, so every single day I'm always relating to information. And I'm always understand what are they doing. I mean, look at this. I mean, do you see those people over there? I mean, what are they doing? Doing information. I mean, that's how information looks like. I mean, they're exercising. I mean, do you understand? I mean, exercising is information. I mean, you understand? I mean, they're doing some sort of information there. I mean, you understand? I mean, they're just doing information, and that's how I understand what they're doing. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about anything else when I read, because I have the silent notes. I have the silent word, yeah? And what's my silent word? Information. So I don't have to rethink videos. I don't have to rethink about what I've been reading. I mean, you understand? I read everything as information. I relate it to information. I mean, do you understand what I'm talking about? I'm talking about information, yeah? I'm talking about the word information. I'm teaching you how I think about how I read. And how I read is I'm always relating everything to information. So that's what I've been teaching you in this video, is how to actually read in terms of information. So you actually understand it. I mean, you understand what to read. I don't have to go backwards and read the book 10 times. I don't have to read anything 10 times. I read at 3 times the speed. I read very, very quickly, and I just relate everything to information, and I just move on. I read at the fastest speed possible. I read at the fastest speed possible. So sometimes it's times 2, times 3, times 4. I read very fast, understand? And I just read at the silent word level, which is information. You understand? So my silent word level is information, okay? So when I read, I'm understanding my silent word, which is information, and that's it. I move on. I mean, there's no complexity to it. You understand? There's nothing complex. It's just information. So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys have learnt now how I read. So what's my silent word? Information, okay? And now when you're reading a book, when you're reading an audio book, make sure that you have your own silent word, okay? I don't know what's that going to be for you, but make sure you relate everything to that silent word, okay? And that way you never have to go backwards. And what's my silent word?